I'm going to talk without the music, just briefly. We're going to do two pieces about the tenor saxophone player Lester Young, who some of you will know played with Billie Holiday a lot, played a tune called Ghost of a Chance, which is the kind of second part of this. In the first part, I'm going to read an extract from a short story called Minor Key, which is about a young British saxophone player who gets a gig in Paris at the same time that Lester Young is playing. And the story is told by the saxophone player's girlfriend. And he's called Val, and I don't know what she's called. Isn't that terrible? I don't know what she's called. Never mind. Maybe we'll find out together as the story progresses. It was when we were leaving the studio after the last session that the pianist invited us to go along with him later to hear Lester Young. Val was evasive. Maybe we, maybe not. The one night off from Le Chat, he might just crash, catch up on some sleep. I thought he was one of your favourites, I said, as we were heading for the metro. How come you didn't want to go? Val gave a quick shake of the head. I hear he's not playing too well. Lester Young had already been in Paris for several weeks, playing at the Blue Note on the Rue d'Artois and living in the Hotel La Louisiane, a room on the second floor he rarely if ever left except to go to work. Val had brought a few records with him from England, one of them an LP with a tattered cover and a scratch across one side. Lester Young some 15 years earlier when he was still in his prime. Val sat cross-legged on his bed listening to the same tracks over and over again. I poured what remained of a bottle of wine and took my glass across to the chair. Traffic noise rose and faded through the partly open shutters. The sound of Young's saxophone, lithe and muscular. When the stylus reached the run-off groove for the umpteenth time, Val reached over and set his glass on the floor. Okay, he said, we'll take a chance. As we entered the club and walked past the long bar towards the stage, a tune I failed to recognise came to an end, and Lester Young, caught in the spotlight, stared out, startled, as the applause rifled out above the continuing conversation. Up close, he looked gaunt and ill, pain visible behind his eyes. I took hold of Val's hand and squeezed it hard. The drummer kicked off the next number of the band. Quick patterns on the hi-hat and the sticks before moving to the snare, a signal for Young. Saxophone tilted at an angle away from his body to begin. Within the first bars, he dragged the tempo down, slurring the notes across the tune, the same stumbling phrases repeated and then left hanging until finally he stepped back and caught his breath, the spaces between his playing wider and wider, until eventually he turned away and stood there, head bowed, leaving the guitarist to take over. If I ever get into that state, poor bastard, Val said, promise me you'll take me out and shoot me. Yet in the succeeding weeks he went back again, not once but several times, fascinated despite himself, watching one of his idols unravel before his eyes. And then there was the time he went along and Young wasn't there. He cancelled the engagement suddenly and returned to the States. 2 weeks later he was dead. The evening he heard the news, Val played There Will Never Be Another You, just the one chorus, unaccompanied, at the beginning of each set. The day later, I walked into the room in the middle of the afternoon and saw Val sitting there, half naked on the bed, needle in hand, searching for a vein. plays the tune lazily, pretty much the way you must have heard Billy sing it, but slower, thick-toned. Leaning back upon the beat, his mind half on the melody, half on the gin. Between takes he stands, head down, shrunken inside a suit already overlarge, cheeks sunken in. He thinks of her, Billy. Already it is possible he has started to bleed within. Control room, laughter, but that's not what he hears. Tenor closer to his mouth. He turns towards the doors. Unseen, not quite unbidden. His ghost has just slipped in. At the end of 8 bars, closes his eyes and blows. After 2 choruses, he will cover his mouthpiece with his shield. Not play again.